you to break in, break through, and break ahead to give you accelerated mentoring sessions. And today we have two amazing special guests, not one, but two. The people who produce and direct much of MediaU's content that we create for you. Tiara Parker-Ragland is a producer and an actor. Dewaun Ragland is a director and a cinematographer and a producer and an editor. Tiara and Dewaun, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Adam.
Thanks, Adam, for the nice introduction.
Absolutely. So you have a production company together, right?
Yes.
Yes.
How long have you been doing that?
Been doing it for about 7 to 8, going on 8 years now.
So you have
Yep.
cracked the code of how to have a creative life and not drive Uber and not work at Starbucks.
Cracked the code. We've cracked a piece of the code, but we're still knocking on that big door.
Well, correct. Well, the code is always there, and even after you crack the first door, there's another door to crack, I think. Let's get right into some mentoring tips. One of the things that I've noticed in working with you is how much of an esprit de corps you create with the people that you work with, the people that you hire, the people that you staff up with. Could you talk a little bit about mentoring for people who want to be producers and directors and content creators when working with others about crew and staffing and some mentoring around that?
So when it comes to crew and staffing, this is very important to our company. I'm also a Army veteran, so serving in the United States Army, I've learned how to collaborate with people and build that camaraderie. So when I'm forming a team for filming, I want to build that camaraderie within our film crew. And I believe it's important that you gain that trust and you gain that respect so that it makes the work environment easier for everyone to do their job, and also at the end of the day people feel like, hey, I want to work with that production company again.
I would add too that some of the things that we look for is people that just have great attitudes and that want to put in the work and love doing what they do in their department. And for the most part, we just want people that are genuinely not just looking for a job to, pay the bills, but they want to learn and they're open to learn and they have something to bring. And I think with Dewan and I, one of the I think great things about like working with us and our production company, we allow that. We allow, newcomers that are in the industry to come in and learn and explore, and we mentor them to help them get better. And they've gotten jobs or other gigs, and it's just really important, like he said, to kind of build that camaraderie with everyone.
Yeah, just picking up a couple of words that you said about better and people who love what they do. Sometimes people phone it in, and in working with you, I found you all never phone it in. You're always striving for quality, and when it's good, it's not good enough. You really try to make it better and better. Could you give people some mentoring about when it's okay to let it go and say, okay, that's just good enough, and when you need to press for higher quality?
Juan has been a mentor for me, like probably the last 13 years. And I would say one of the things I remember asking him was, about like, producers like Jerry Bruckheimer, and like what makes them like so good. Like, when we see the credits that come up, like, oh, it was produced by Jerry Bruckheimer and from the producers of this, and that. I wanted to know like what makes them so great. And he was saying that, it's really about like what you bring and your ability and skill to a project that is your DNA, that nobody else has your DNA. So when you put forth that effort, it's only going to be unique to what you bring. So when you're out there looking for production jobs, you might think, oh, well, they might want to go with another company, and that's okay. But They wanted to work with your company because of what you bring to the table. And let's face it, like right now, like it is so hard to find like good people, and people want to work with good people and people that they feel comfortable with. And I just think that has a lot to do with it. And I also feel like, you're here on this earth and you have only one life to live. And I just feel like putting in the extra effort will make a difference somewhere in your life.
When we hire and particular crew members that come in, I'm always searching for that same energy, that I bring when I'm attacking any type of production. I like things to be fun. I like things to be serious. But at the end of the day, if people aren't having a good time on set, it can't be because of bad, moods, or the production company doesn't know what to do and they seem kind of like all over the place. I want people to come in and understand that at the helm, of this production company, you have two leaders that understand what it takes and you have full confidence in them. And I feel like that also, filters down to people that are, lower in the crew, and they feed off of that energy. When do you know, like, enough is enough? Well, that's kind of hard, for me and our team, because we're at the top. We're producers and we're directors, and when you hold that position, you can't say like this is enough. You're always trying to perfect, your art, and I believe that's hard for any producer that takes themselves serious, or any director that takes themselves serious. You're always striving to make your art the best, and even when it's done, even when you get that first film festival or it hits that theater, you're never satisfied. You're always thinking, oh, I could add that shot, or when's the director's cut come out? But it's always perfection. Always perfection. Perfection is key.
Yeah. And then I wanted to just add too, Dewan and I always critique ourselves after we do a project. We
Always.
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 We
It's
have like this session where we're like, okay, what went well? What could we have done better? And we take notes and we
yeah.
write them down and we make adjustments. And then the next project that we do, we make sure that we do not make those same mistakes.
Right. It's literally like a 180. I have friends that tell me like, man, we've seen some of your work, like 2 years ago, and then 2 years later, it's like, what happened here? Like, who'd you hire on your set? Well, that comes from critiquing your own, craft, your own work. We sit down and we drill it, and we ask for other people to chime in and tell us like, hey, what did you think? What went wrong? We love criticism, because I feel like without criticism, how can you get better? How can you sit there and say that you're the best at something if you don't fail? So we welcome criticism.
Wow, that is just about the best mentoring tip I've ever heard. The self-awareness to self-critique after every project, see what worked, what didn't work, and how you can make it better and not repeat the same mistakes. Also, I'll just plus one you on It's Never Finished. There are movies that I have that are in release that I still want to change, but unfortunately, I can't. It's too late. And the adage is true that movies are never finished; they're just taken away from you,
That's
because
true.
at a certain point, the studio says we're releasing it.
Right.
Get out of the editing room. Hey, let's just do one more. Let's just do one more mentoring tip about people that work for you and the people you hire. Maybe mentor people a little bit about how important or unimportant it is to know what each position does, to know what each department does, so you can have a good collaboration with them.
I feel like it's an ongoing, education for myself. People ask me like, "Hey, you've been doing this for a long time. Like, where's that big feature at?" And I tell them, it's growing. It's growing pains. You live and you learn. And for me, I feel like I had to try a little bit of everything. I've done music videos, I've done commercials, reality. Now I feel like I've come full circle to where, that feature film is in the horizon. But everyone has a different journey. Everyone takes a different path. So I feel like, through my path, I had to learn everyone's job position, all the way down from production assistant all the way up to a producer. I remember when I was a production assistant on the Flavor of Love show, and I used to walk in and I used to chat it up with people like the sound department, and I would ask them like, how did you, get this job? How did they pick you? And then what's the process after that? I walk in, after turning into my timesheets, I would bump into the production manager and I would say, how did you get this job? And then it just keeps going on and on and on. It doesn't matter who's on set. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions. You do have to pick the right moments to not bother people. And I think anybody, that's on set that takes this serious will know when that right time is. Learning everyone's job position is very important because it makes you a better filmmaker across the board. And your communication, I can't stress this enough, but communication is best. If you can communicate to everyone and get your point across, I feel like you would have an overall better production.
Yeah, and I'll add to that because you, Dewan, have you went to school and you have experience as a sound engineer, an editor, filmmaking, and for us knowing all of, or for you knowing all of that, it definitely gives us, puts us in the position to teach and mentor people that we bring on, like knowing those departments. So let's say we bring in, a new sound engineer. So the fact that Dewan knows these positions, he's able to mentor and teach how to make our project better. So we can bring on somebody who's an assistant editor or a production coordinator or, like I said, a sound engineer, and he'll be able to say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Nope, you got to turn it up here. Like, I'll give you like one example. Like when we're on set, we've had sound engineers that production mixers, and the levels on their pack weren't as high as they should have been, and he'll go over and say it needs to hit these marks because I know what it's going to sound like when we take it back into post, and then he'll explain why they need to hit this level. So it's just good for people to just know each department or the fundamentals and basics of each
Yeah.
department, because it will just make your project all the better.
Tiara and Dewan, you've just made I Am a Camera, which is offered free at MediaU. It is a special program about the power of the cell phone camera that everybody has, and a lot of how-to information that helps people make great and important videos with their cell phones. Could you tell us about that, please?
So I Am a Camera is a project that we produced, and it really dives into how powerful the cell phone is. And I know we use it as a tool to, make phone calls and send text messages and all of that, but it really is a powerful tool to capture a lot of things. So we go into what we currently use it for, but then also what we don't think it can be used for and how we should use it in its, let's say best form. A lot of people, are so used to shooting portrait mode or orientating their phone kind of like vertically. And that's just because it's a trendy thing to do. And I mean, everybody does it. But there's times where landscape and shooting horizontally is like really important. And so we go into explaining the difference between those two orientations and why it's important. And we also, go into why it's important for society and things that are going on with social injustice in our country.
Tiara, Dewan, lightning round. Think back to yourself 15 years ago. What advice would you give your younger self? Dewan, you go first.
I would tell my younger self to have patience. I can't stress out how much enough patience is really needed in the business that we work in. But I would definitely say have patience.
Tiara?
I would say to give my younger self permission to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes along the journey because when you make mistakes, you learn from your mistakes. So you fail forward.
Thank you both so much. This has been so valuable, and it's always great to be with you.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.